Hello and welcome to another episode of Cravone's Tanks. This time we are going to be covering the FV215b 183. This is the tier 10 British tank destroyer, branching from the 80 series and coming from the Tortoise. It's a well-known tank in the game because it's probably one of the most feared tanks in the entire game to come up against. Because of the 183mm caliber gun it has, which can do 2000 damage with its HESH shells. It is best served as a support tank, fighting at medium and long ranges, and helping heavies and mediums. I mean, it's good at shooting mediums, but you don't want to be on your own around the corner, because it's got a very long reload. You need support. In fact, you're best being the support and allowing your teammates to take the brunt of shells. Now, it's got a 30 or so second reload, so you're going to be wanting to take a large shell rammer to reduce the reload time. You're also going to want to take vents because it also reduces the reload time. And then you've got a choice. Now, I would recommend taking the enhanced gun lane drive. However, if you're going to be using it as a proper TD, like sniping, your best bet's probably binos or camo net. Bear in mind this tank has terrible camo rating, so a camo net might not be that useful, but it's an option. For consumables, if I'm on a cheap setup like a random, I take a small repair kit, small heal kit and small fire extinguisher. For more competitive play, your best bet is probably going to be the large repair kit, the large heal kit, and then make your choice between pudding and tea and a automatic fire extinguisher. Though I guess you could have pudding and tea and an automatic fire extinguisher if you drop the large heal kit, but yeah, you want to reduce their reload, but also if any loaders or ammo rack gets taken out, you are screwed in that tank. Now this is the part of the guide that I was dreading the most: the gun and the shells. Now, as you can see from the gun stats, it takes a long time to aim in, it's not accurate, it's got very low rate of fire. However, it's got amazing pen on standard AP, and it's got the HESH shells, the golden HESH shells. Now, first of all, what you're going to want to do when you're deciding shells, you're going to want to take no HE, like no standard HE at all. They are useless. What you want to do is, I mean, you've got half a minute reload. You've got to remember this. You can't just change shells based on what's coming up. So with that in mind, you need to decide your shells based on what the enemy team has brought to the battle. So I would recommend a split of 50-50. I'm going to be showing on the screen right about now possible setups you can take with your shells. But bear in mind, the HESH shells are gold, so they're going to cost you about 8k a shell. Standard AP are going to cost you quite a bit as well. But yeah, I have a guide on HESH shells. I'll put the link in the description. But basically, you want to be hitting soft, flat-sided targets with HESH. You do the maximum amount of damage. I'm going to try to show this off in the footage. Standard AP, you want to be shooting at heavies with that, pretty much. Now for your crew, you get 5 crew members: commander, gunner, loader, and driver. Don't know why it's in that order. First skill, you're going to want BIA on all your crew. Now second skill is you're going to want 6th Sense on the commander. You're dropping situational awareness for 6 cents, but 6 cents is going to keep you alive more than situational awareness. You shouldn't be the ones spotting in a 183 basically. For the gunner, you're going to want snapshot because that reduces your dispersion when you're turning your gun. For the driver, you're going to want preventive maintenance. Now, I would say clutch braking is an option in the, on the driver. You don't want to be circled by a medium, basically. For the loaders, I would suggest adrenaline rush and safe stowage. Don't bother with intuition, it's too risky with a 30-second reload. And then for the rest, you should probably get camo for all the third skills. It's got bad camo, this tank, but the camo you get from the crew can really help. Put it this way, you don't want to be spotted in this tank because you are going to be focus fired like nothing else. Plus RT like one-shotting these tanks. Now we get on to weak spots. Now weak spots are so important, they keep you alive. If you know the weak spots you tank, you can keep your tank alive indefinitely. Unless you're in a bat chat, in which case, yeah, you are a weak spot. Anyway, so probably the best way to angle it is 45 degrees like this. But you're gonna want to have your turret facing dead on when you're angled. So this might be almost at the maximum range you can turn your gun to the side. So be careful of that. Wiggle your gun, wiggle your turret as well, because you've got a weak spot on your turret. Now you can see here from the front, your lower plate is the biggest weak spot on the tank, and everyone knows that. Everyone's going to be shooting you there. Try and keep that hidden with terrain. Try and play hold down. Your next biggest weak spot is on the turret. You've got a little command attach on the turret. Keep moving your turret to avoid them hitting that. But the rest of the front can be a bit weak. I mean, if someone puts a decent high pen shell, it will go through your upper plate, so beware of that. Your turret is pretty much almost impenetrable except for the weak spot, so don't worry about that. Now from the side, you've got an AMRAC spot right at the back of your turret. The rest of your turret, you have no turret armor, put it this way. Now you would have no hull armor. There's a little strip underneath the turret which is very easy to hit, but you've got tracks, and tracks are, in my opinion, the best armor in the game. If a shell hits your tracks, you could take no damage. It's unlikely in the 183, but it's possible, so yeah. And just quickly, lastly, the back of your tank, you die, put it that way. You've got an AMRAC spot, the circle in the middle of the back of the turret. Everything else on the back of your tank except for your tracks is a weak spot. Everything's going to pen. That is a good place for another 183 to put a HESH shell. Right, now let's feature some gameplay. So once again, I'm doing this as live commentary. So yeah, master. Now the key thing with this tank is the shells. You get 12 shells total. This is something I did mention earlier because simply I forgot. Now we're looking at the enemy team. There are 2 mediums, a lot of light tanks, but quite a bit of heavies and quite a lot of heavy armor in terms of TDs, but there's a lot of tier 8s. So we're going to load our first shell as HESH. We want to avoid their arty because their arty is going to want to shoot us. So we're going to go down to the J4 spot. I mean, you can play this as a long range sniper. I prefer to play this like a little bit closer because if the enemy team can see me, they're more worried about going around the corner on my team. So your aim in this tank is you're not going to tank much damage. You're not going to spot anything. Your job is to try and do as much physical damage as possible with your one shot per 30 seconds. So I've gone with 7 AP and 5 HESH rounds, and loading one of those 5 HESH rounds straight away at the start. Basically what I'm expecting here is to get the weak spot of the E5 or potentially hit one of the T-34s. Now my team are struggling in the middle already, so we're going to have to keep an eye behind us. As you can see, it's not the quickest tank. Now Tiger 2 and RSM, we're actually going to reload straight away here. We're not even going to bother firing that HESH round because we're not going to do a full damage hit on these two tanks. So we're going to use the AP round. It's decent damage, like 1200 damage per shot. So it's definitely still viable. Now, this is a bit of a difficulty here. Because of the shape of our lower plate and the fact that the lower plate is a weak point, we have to be very careful going up hills like this. And in fact, in the 183, most situations, you want the enemy to be coming towards you, not the other way around. So you have to be looking for those chances to push forward. Right, he's bounced on my turret. So another bounce on my turret. So we're going to get into a position where we can fire a shell. We're going to fire this E5. I missed because I didn't aim in. To be fair, I didn't expect their T-34 to be there. But yeah, you can't take many hits in this. I find it an extremely hard tank to do any damage in, purely for the fact that it doesn't survive long enough. It's really slow getting to position, and I don't know why, but whenever I go in this tank, my team wins the game very quickly. So long aim time, we want to be zeroed in on the E5's weak point. We don't pen the weak point, so we only do 700. As with a HESH round. So we're going to be going into another game, because this one wasn't really that great at showing its usefulness. We want to be showing what happens when you fire a HESH shell that does pen, because that's what you're after in this tank. But because we were there, the enemy team were too scared to push on our 113 and our other heavy that we had, that I think was the U100, even though they outnumbered us. As a result, they got flanked from our team's job in the middle, and we've ended up winning the game. Probably might have ended up winning the game otherwise, but we did quite a lot for our team there. Just by our presence of being there. People know this does a lot of damage. That's a standard AP shell through the front, 1000 damage. It's very nice. That now brings our game into 1700 damage, so that's decent. Because otherwise it was only 700. But yeah, as you see, I did not aim that shell in at all. I've got 310 mil pen on these AP shells. As of 9.6, there might be enough for 9.7. We're not sure on that yet. But yeah, I mean, this tank has so much pen on its AP shells, but it's a big shell. It's going to lose more pen than most shells. At long range, you can't go wrong with HESH. Well, you can shoot the tracks, but don't shoot tracks with Space Dome with HESH. So that was actually a pretty poor game for us. So we're going to go into another one. We'll see what we can do in this. I find if the 183 is in a map where it can flank, then it's quite a threat, because a HESH round through the side or the back of a tank is basically GG. Half the module's gone. Now we're looking at the enemy team. We're seeing a lot of mediums. They're going to be going up north. We're also seeing two very heavily armoured heavies. Yeah, we're seeing our counterpart, and the Jagdpanzer is also quite decent on armour as well. Well, we don't want to be heshing them from the front, so we're probably going to be loading AP of the first shell, put one in the front of the mouse. But we're not going to commit. We're not going to totally commit yet, because they do have those mediums. And actually, I'm going to change my mind in this battle. Based on what my team are doing, I'm going to go north to support the mediums, because they're going to need it. They're outnumbered. Plus, I also want to show what HESH does to a medium in this. Suffice to say, mediums will not like facing this tank. Not entirely sure what our team are complaining about. But I'm going to try and ignore them. We would have liked to see the 50B come this way, because that would have been a big shot that we could have put into him. We're going to basically wait for their mediums to push onto our mediums. And then we're gonna give some support. Suffice to say, a HESH round through the front of an E100, a Jagdpanzer E100 turret will probably end that game for him. Even if it doesn't one shot, it will do so much module damage. We aimed in that HESH shell a bit quickly on the FV, probably too quickly, and as a result we didn't do that much damage. So we need to get into a safe spot. We basically want our mediums to pull back here. We want to force the enemy mediums around the corner so we can get a good side shot into him. So we're asking our mediums to fall back. But they're not, so we're just waiting for an opportunity. Eventually one of their tanks are going to come around that corner. I do believe they know we're here. That's the worry. And we miss our HESH shell. Quite bad accuracy on this thing, and they come around the corner as soon as we fired, so we were the only ones holding them up there, to be honest, to scare factor. I'll show a third game where we don't get stomped 15-0. Hopefully. But yeah, I don't think the FV can be that useful on the previous two maps we just got. It's quite map dependent. So we're gonna actually want to aim in this next shell because we've done nothing this game. But right now we're holding them up. I don't know what for, because the enemy team, well, we're the last tank alive. And our shell travel time screws us over there. Yeah, this thing has quite a long shell travel time because it is a large shell. So it could throw you off if you're used to some other TDs. We're not going to repair because this game's over. So yeah, that was terrible, that game. So yeah, something to keep in mind, it's not that great over range because it's got terrible accuracy. I would argue that the Jack Panzer 100 is much better because it's got armour and the accuracy, even though it's not got the HESH shells. Yeah, this tank can be very frustrating at times when you're not landing the HESH shells. It's just something you've got to live with. So the enemy team have 3 RT, and this is it's going to be a difficult game for us because the RT is going to want to hit us.
Let's
go. So again, we're going to try and face some of the heavies. We're going to load an AP shell. Yeah, there's nothing really to face aside from their heavies. So we want to lay down that support. It's worth remembering that the enemy team doesn't know what shell you've loaded. Until you fire, they often assume that you've got only HESH in your tank. And that way the AP shell can really surprise someone that knows how to play against HESH. Also, you can sort of bluff with AP, make them think you've got a shell that's going to do a crap ton of damage. Something to take point with armour. Alas, the one tank we want to hit with HESH. We're actually going to load HESH because there's a low health Conqueror as well, because we want to finish that down. I'm going to sort of try and stay away from these heavies because so many heavies in one spot. I'm an arty player. If I see that many heavies in one spot, I will always go for that spot. So yeah, arty shell just landed in. Proves my point exactly. So we want to preload AP because I think we just saw a mouse around this corner in the U100. We want to land a full hit HESH shell. That was a big hit from HESH. Full damage. 1700 on him. Yeah, just devastation there. That's our game. That one shot. Like, that's more than made this a good game. Plus the 1000 damage here on the 215b, the AMX50B. Something you have to keep in mind is because the guns are rear mounted, you put a lot of your tank in front of you when you go around a corner, and it can be quite dangerous to do so. Now we're going to be trying to stay in as much RT cover as possible, but RT can still splash hit us there. Here, there's nothing we can do about it. It's gonna happen. We've just got to hope we do the damage before, because we can't really push forward without our team pushing forward. We're in low health. Lined up an AP shot, but then the E100 got in the way.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Got a way of landing another big hit on an E100. So yeah, as you saw, I penned his cheek. You won't do that in many other tanks. This has the highest AP pen in the entire game, aside from the Object 261 RT. So yeah, of course we're going to pen his cheeks. Another big hit. We should have probably not come out from round the hill, from that rock, but at this point we can actually use scare tactics. Preloading HESH shell. I would have shot the RUB's low health. You sort of don't want to be shooting at stuff that's super low health unless that's the only thing left. And RT lands us. Something you really need to bear in mind is that the HESH shells do 5 meters of splash damage as well, which is as much as the Object 261 RT. Which you may think, well, that isn't that much, but think about that splash from that RT. That isn't that much for an RT, but for a tank that can do splash damage like that, that's huge. And it didn't feel like such an eventful game for us. But my damage counter is saying we did 6,590 damage, which you don't even have to think about. That number's huge, and that was probably the primary reason why we won that game. But that 113 of theirs demonstrated how not to play against a 183. Never ever show a flat side like that, because that's what we shot at. We got the flat side, weakest part of the tank, 1,700 damage with that one shot. And then we could just pick off the rest with AP, because we have other shells aside from HESH shells. Look at the battle report. We made 6k even though we fired HESH shells. 5 shells, 5 hits, 6.6k damage. Easy top damage of the team, but funny enough, we're only 3rd on XP, so yeah. That's always a mystery to me. Got high caliber. Their RT finally did take us out. I knew they were from the start of the game, but they took us out way too late. Let's see what we did on that 113. Yeah, we took out ammo rack, turret, driver, gunner and loader with that one shot. I believe that's 3 out of 4 crew members we took out of that shot. That was a huge shot. See what else we did. 1,000 on the M103, 1,000 on the E75, 1,200 on the E100, 1,250b, 1,800 on the 113 with HESH rounds. So hopefully you've seen from those videos there were some HESH rounds that I fired that didn't do full damage. That's an example of how not to fire HESH. The one that did full damage, that's an example of when to fire HESH. But it gets quite difficult because you have to preload a shell. You have to decide what you're firing in the next 30 seconds. Fortunately, in that kind of battle, we sort of knew the positions that we were going to get. We knew the positions, the enemy tanks, what kind of enemy tanks, and they gave us the time to work. And as a result, we won that battle. So, thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed this guide. I did say in the last episode I would be doing the RS4. I will not do the RS4 until after the patch. because the armor profiling is changing very slightly, but I don't think it's going to affect gameplay in it. But I don't want to put a guy that's then made invalid next week. So yeah, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be putting up new Cravone tank videos. So yeah, I'll keep you posted. Anyway, bye for now.